Today I'm driving the 2025 Mazda CX-70 Turbo S Premium Plus. It is an absolute riot of a crossover. In this video, we're going to check out all the features, take it for a drive, and then put its off-road mode to the test. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. A few months ago, I reviewed the then new 2024 Mazda CX-90 PHEV. And I kind of hated it. That was a powertrain that simply wasn't ready for prime time. It was simply too much too soon for Mazda. It was a powertrain that just needed a little bit more development. Well, today I am driving its cousin, the CX-70, which is a two-row version of the CX-90. And this time, I'm not driving the PHEV. Nope, this is the standard hybrid. The CX-70 here is basically a two-row version of the CX-90. The wheelbase and the size are basically the same. So does this CX-70 have the same issues as that CX-90? Well, we're going to answer that in a little bit. But first, let's check out all the features. Under the hood is Mazda's eSkyactiv G 3.3-liter turbo inline six. This is combined with a 48-volt mild hybrid system for a peak output of 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. The only transmission is an 8-speed automatic. Mazda also includes something called kinematic posture control, which increases stability in the corners, while at the same time helps all occupants maintain a natural posture. So it's interesting how Mazda uses the all-wheel drive system in this vehicle. It is primarily a rear-wheel drive vehicle that uses a multi-plate clutch to shift power to the front. But beyond that, they use a lot of just clever software to help shift power left to right to help with the vehicle's balance. Now, a lot of car makers shift power around, but they don't focus on balance quite like Mazda does. So when I go into this corner here, I feel like I have more control than you would expect. In fact, yeah, this thing handles amazing. EPA rates economy of this setup at 23 miles to the gallon in town and 28 on the highway. Included tires are Toyo Open Country all seasons wrapped around 21-inch wheels. Like the CX-90, the CX-70 features an elongated hood and a rounded back to emphasize speed without sacrificing cargo capacity. I think this works better on some angles than others. It's also available in a variety of colors. What we have here is called Melting Copper Metallic. It is a $450 upcharge. In fact, any color other than black will cost you extra. Mazda is pushing upmarket with these vehicles, and that is reflected not just in the color choices, but also in the pricing. The top Turbo S Premium Plus trim, as you see it here, is $57,775 US. It sounds like a lot, but it's also $15,000 less than a comparably equipped BMW X5. The tan Nappa leather on the inside is standard for this trim. Personally, I really dislike this color combination, and I don't care for this huge chunk of suede. Maybe it's just me, but an all-black interior that is wipeable would be a much better option. You can get all black, but you're going to have to move down a trim level to get it. This trim is only available with this specific interior. The rear gate is powered and has a foot detect sensor. Inside, you get a sizable amount of cargo space along with a 12-volt socket and a 150-volt AC outlet. Under the floor is a jack kit and a partial spare. The second row folds flat with a push of a button, revealing a flat floor that should be good enough for any adult to sleep in. I'm 6'1" and I fit just fine. With the second row back in place, you get plenty of space for a full-size adult as well. At this trim level, passengers get outboard heated seats, their own climate controls, USB-C power, and vents. Up front, the driver gets a leather seat with 8-way power controls, heat, and ventilation, in addition to 2 memory positions. The steering wheel is wrapped in very nice leather, but it does have a hard plastic cover over the airbag in the middle. Paddle shifters are standard at this trim level. The transmission controller is a little stick down here. Above it, you get a drive mode toggle. Below it, hill descent control, cameras, and the infotainment controller. The screen here is 12.3 inches. It features Mazda's standard infotainment system, which I don't love. It's a bit clunky to use and only supports touchscreen when using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, both of which can be used wirelessly. The included charging pad does do a good job of keeping the phone charging while in use. The gauge cluster is all digital with screens that can change depending on your drive mode. There's also a small part down here on the right that can be customized. Personally, I would prefer more customization options, but aesthetically, it's very nicely executed. Now let's go for a drive. I have to say, I like this inline six. This thing is smooth and it makes really nice noises inside the cabin. In sport mode, I'm having no issues with the transmission like I had with the CX-90. That thing was an unpredictable mess, but this one is solid, it's confident, and it does what I want. Hit throttle, boom, you got it. Downshift, boom, you got it. Woohoo! This thing's fun. This is what I wanted out of the CX-90 I drove last year. I don't know what they did. Maybe it's the difference between the PHEV and the standard hybrid. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's software. But this thing is so much better than the one that I drove last year. It's like a totally different vehicle. The CX-90, yeah, hated it. This one, I really like it. And sport mode really does transform the vehicle using, remapped logic on the all-wheel drive system, a faster throttle. It holds shifts longer to keep that turbocharged inline six spooled up. It is really just a riot to drive. Now, of course, if I want best MPGs, I can go back to normal, and then everything kind of calms down. There is no eco mode, and I'm okay with that. I always find those modes kind of silly anyway. Seating position's pretty good. I'm nicely cradled. I do like that I have the paddle shifters right here so I can blip through all 8 gears. I mean, this is, it's a Mazda. It's what Mazda does. They make fun to drive vehicles. So when they made something that just totally didn't hit the mark, like the CX-90, it was bad. Like, I was offended for Mazda. This one, however, yeah, redemption. Mazda's active safety tech has come a long way in the last few years. We do get blind spot warning, collision mitigation, rear cross traffic alerts. This also includes adaptive cruise control with lane centering. I hit a button down here. It enables a modified cluster that lets me focus on the adaptive cruise, and it will actually keep the vehicle tracking in the center. It is a hands-on system, though. It is not an autonomous system. If you want to have a autonomous or semi-autonomous system where you can go hands-free, well, you need to look at traffic jam assist on the Toyotas for speeds under 25. Mercedes obviously offers a semi-autonomous system as well, and other manufacturers are coming to the table with it. Mazda here, they just got lane centering, so they do not look for a autonomous system on a Mazda anytime soon. They are focused on driving and the fun of driving. So clearly it's within their DNA to not focus on an autonomous system, but still I think that people are gonna start comparing, especially as they move these vehicles up market. You're going to start to see more autonomous systems in the BMWs and the Mercedes trickling their way down into the trims, and Mazda's going to need something to answer that if they want to play in that space. Time will tell, we will see. Let's try a 0 to 60. This is a mostly level stretch of road. It's definitely straight. I'm in sport mode. I'm just going to hit the throttle. I'm also turning iStop off. 3, 2, 1, go! Whoop, punch of power there, and 6.87 seconds. Not bad. Not fantastic, but not bad. The one thing I do not know is if this vehicle has premium fuel in it, because I have not run through a full tank on it, and if they filled up with standard test, then obviously that is going to cut horsepower. I will try to do some research and find out what kind of gas was put in this and post a comment below. There is a little squeaking in here in the door panels, which is kind of annoying. If they want to compete with BMW, they're going to have to not do that. So on the street, this thing is really fun to drive when you push it. Around town, however, it's a little stiff on the suspension. Not everybody's going to like that. Well, now it's time to really put this to the test, because this has an off-road mode. and we're going to see how well it can do over at our Peninsula Proving Grounds. Let's do it. Unlike most other compacts in this class, this one is actually rear-wheel drive first and foremost. It then uses a transfer clutch to push power to the front when it's needed. So the best way to illustrate this and how it works is with a slow motion acceleration shot. So when I am in drive, I'm just going to keep it in normal drive mode here. And then when I mash the throttle, you should see those rear wheels spin first, and then power transfers to the front as it detects the need. And yeah, just kind of floor it. 3, 2, 1, go. Yep, I could feel those rear tires overdriving the front, but the front wheels were actually very responsive. Now let's do the same thing, and we're going to do it with traction control off. TCS off. Okay, and 3, 2, 1, mash it. Woohoo! Man, I so prefer rear-wheel drive over front-wheel drive. Now let's see how it deals with a fast force road. We're going to get up to 30 miles an hour and then hit the bump and see what it does. Yep. Oh, yeah, that's not comfortable. You don't want to blaze down fire roads in this thing. To set up this vehicle for the course, there's really not a lot we can do. The MI drive system, I will switch it to off-road, switches the gauge cluster to its fancy off-road setting, and also gives me a compass in the middle, which is a nice touch. That will optimize the all-wheel drive system to shift power back to front and side to side as necessary. I also have my front camera on with wheel tracking, which is good. And yeah, let's just drive it. Now we do have a hill descent control system, but I don't really have a hill here that is safe for the approach angle on this, so we're not going to be able to test that today. Maybe sometime in the future. Okay, and up we go. So as we slowly crawl up, I'm trying to let the vehicle's all-wheel drive system do all of the work. I don't want to use momentum to get up, unless of course we absolutely have to. So right about here, we're going to be taking traction off the back right wheel and off that front passenger wheel, where wheel braking is going to kick in and move us up, and it works pretty good. Nice. So dipping into the hole here next to the dead tree, we're going to see how much articulation we have in the back. I'm guessing not a lot. That's pretty typical for a multi-link rear. Yeah, that rear wheel is way off the ground. Going back up for the trees. It's got to do a little work to get me through, but it does. Very effective trail system. Years ago, Mazda would kind of bury a secret off-road mode if you turned off traction control. That would actually enable the logic to shift power left to right. So I am glad that Mazda here has finally incorporated a proper trail mode, because that was just confusing. To this day, I still have viewers saying, oh, you need to turn off traction control for the off-road systems to work better, which doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense because that's how Mazda used to do it. But in reality, the traction control system is the off-road system. So if you turn that off, you actually lose functionality. Okay, well, while I'm talking here, we're on the teeter-totter. So this is where we're trying to lift the vehicle up, but we have no traction on the driver's side front or the passenger rear. So I'm just going to add a little throttle here. That was just idle that you were watching. And now it's going to shift that power around to get us climbing. No problem. Doing great. Here we're going to see if we can clear the exit here. If that does okay, then we'll move on to the logs. Go up and over. Here's the bump. We're going to grind. Ooh, barely kissing it. Okay, let's do the logs. Hopefully this doesn't end badly. Something I have to share is that I don't always release videos in the order of which I film them, so I don't know if you will have seen our Santa Fe review yet at the time of watching this one, but the Santa Fe was the vehicle that I brought in just a few days ago on this same course, and it couldn't get through the logs without digging down more than it was going forward. Oh, come on, really? So I had to give it a fail. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna be drive, still an off-road, nothing really to adjust. Just gonna try to go over these logs with minimal fuss. Now these I always try to climb very slowly, because if you hit them hard, not only do you knock them out of the sand and then you roll with them, you can also cause a heavy impact down, which can dent things on the underbody. And this is mostly plastic on the underside, with some metal plates where they need to be. Let's see. Yeah, so the crawl ratio is not great. Clearly this is not intended for this kind of stuff. However, I am having zero issues getting through this so far. I mean, yeah, that's what it should be. I don't know why the Santa Fe had so many issues on that, but man, this thing, just walk in the park. That's a proper all-wheel drive power transfer system. Taking a look at my line here, I can see that the wheels tracked exactly where the Santa Fe tracked through here. Santa Fe started digging here and started digging there. Same exact wheel print as the Mazda. So that is the example of a good power transfer system. The Santa Fe, not so good. Okay, now we'll just clear the tree and then go through the sand pit. Come on. It's working a little bit here. High center. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, let's talk about this. So that's the 2025 Mazda CX-70. Overall, very impressed with this vehicle. It especially does really well on pavement, where you can really have fun with it and really exploit that inline six. Now, it is very good on trails, but obviously the geometry of this vehicle just isn't really built for that. The overhang in the front is too low, the wheelbase is too long, and the tires aren't right. However, it is a very capable system. If Mazda wants to take this idea and go, a couple steps forward with a Meridian design, here's my tips for them. 18-inch wheels with all-terrain tires, an extra inch of ground clearance, underbody protection with a metal plate in the front, proper roof rack, and basically that's it. It seems pretty capable overall. Plus you already have the really good surround view camera system, and the logic of that off-road mode is excellent for this class of vehicle. So clearly this isn't going to compete with something like a Land Cruiser. It's not intended to, but if you compare this to other crossovers in the space, I think you'll find that this CX-70 is actually really impressive, even when you consider the cost. So with that, I'd say that Mazda has absolutely redeemed itself. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you. Hope you enjoy them. We'll see you again right here real soon.